Hello and welcome in to another exciting winter meetings edition of the PHNX D-backs podcast right here on PHNX. And I'm excited because we have news, or maybe not, or maybe nothing's happened. I don't know. But to fill us in on all of that is my vice mayor, the one and only Thunderstick, Jesse Friedman, coming to us live from Nashville, Tennessee. Jesse, how is everything going there at what is it, the Gaylord? Is it the Gaylord? It's not the Gaylord.
Gaylord, Opryland,
Tennessee,
something
world.
Convention
It's
Center, hotel,
like an entire universe
mall
in one hotel.
Yeah, this place is wild. Honestly, I feel like I haven't talked enough about that on this show.
Yeah,
this is
it's
like
a crazy hotel.
This is like 8 times larger than any hotel I've been in my life, and it's not even really a hotel. It's like an indoor mall and also like a biosphere where there's extensive numbers of plants being grown like everywhere. There are like man-made rivers flowing through this thing. You can take boat tours of a hotel. I don't know where I've been the last few days, Derek. I'm still trying to get my head around it.
It's a lot like Wonka's factory, right? It's a lot like that, but instead of making candy, we're making deals over there. By the way, I don't think I introduced myself. For those of you that don't know me, I am still the mayor of Phoenix, according to Heidi Watney, Derek Montilla. And I was just, again, so excited that we finally have rumors circulating, Jesse. We have rumors swirling. It feels like, for the most part, the Arizona Diamondbacks things are whittling down a little bit for them and the names that they're being connected to. And they are some of the same names that you and I have heard, I think, over the course of the week. Some names we've discussed quite a bit, but my biggest concern right now is news from Bob Nightingale that the Boston Red Sox are reportedly interested in La Pina, our very own, my hair twin, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. And we knew that was inevitable, but now the time is happening. It's the thing is happening now, Jesse.
Former hair twin, for the record.
Yeah,
you don't have purple hair anymore, Derek. Don't kid the people.
It's gone now. Yeah,
it's been gone for months.
Yeah, well, Alec wants me to dye it lime green now, so we'll see what happens with that. But obviously, this fills the void left by Alex Verdugo, who was traded to the Yankees. And again, we knew this was something that was going to happen, but it's still sad that this news is kind of, bubbling up and that we are close to the inevitable loss of our former outfielder.
Yeah, no surprises, right?
Right.
We did talk about at the beginning of the offseason, there's an off chance maybe that the Diamondbacks would bring back Lourdes, but it never felt particularly likely. And at this point, feels maybe even less likely than it ever did, even though it didn't really ever feel likely. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of where he goes.
Yeah, it's the sad reality of the situation, right? And of course, we know that leaves the Diamondbacks also with a void, but the Yankees, they have no voids, it doesn't seem like, because they are on the verge of now completing the trade we've heard about quite a bit, where Juan Soto seems to be a lock to go to the Yankees via trade per John Heyman. He reported that Trent Grisham is also included in the deal. So this sounds like this is something that's just a matter of figuring out like players involved and how it's going to move forward. But it seems like this is a done deal.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's good for baseball in the sense that we actually have some semblance of like big trade news to talk about this week. Although it's not official as of right now, at least as we're doing this. But yeah, I mean, the Yankees still have problems. I don't know if this necessarily will catapult the Yankees to the top of the AL East or anything. In fact, it seems highly unlikely that it would. But Juan Soto is a very, very good player, and And yeah, I mean, this deal for Alex Verdugo as well. These things kind of go together. We know that the Verdugo deal at this point, it appears, is complete. And then Juan Soto, it sounds like within pretty short order, that deal will be done as well. So it's I mean, the Yankees really needed to add some outfielders, right? It was Aaron Judge and then kind of a bunch of question marks. It also sounds like, according to John Heyman, that Trent Grisham will be included in this deal with San Diego. So yeah, that's a pretty complete outfield. I mean, you've got Verdugo, Soto, Judge, and then Trent Grisham maybe as a fourth outfielder. He also plays a really, really good center field defensively. So, you know, the Braves have been doing stuff, and the Yankees kind of getting in on some action here over the last couple of days as well.
Well, that's not the only deal, because we also have an actual free agency move with one of the bigger names on the market. Craig Kimbrell goes to the Orioles on a 1-year, $13 million deal. Again, this is all AL East news, and honestly, if we can get Ohtani to the Blue Jays, it would complete the Thanos gauntlet of AL East news of things happening there. But this move, not as big, and honestly, I don't mean to diminish Craig Kimbrell's accomplishments, but this is the kind of move that I'm afraid about the Diamondbacks making, right, Jesse? A move where, I mean, it's not to say Kimbrell still isn't a quality reliever that can help your team win, but that seems like a lot of money to spend on one guy that, at least from a Diamondbacks fan perspective, didn't seem to be worth all that money, especially when it came down to certain situations in the playoffs there.
Yeah, he didn't look like a guy you want to pay $13 million to, even over, you know, just a 1-year contract. All of the relievers have really been getting paid a lot. We saw Emilio Pagan get a 2-year deal recently. We saw Craig Kimbrell, of course, we were just talking about. Fangraphs, according to their crowdsource numbers, they had Kimbrell at 1 year, $10 million. He gets 1 year, $13 million. They had Emilio Pagan at 1 year, $5 million. He wound up getting a 2-year deal. Reynaldo Lopez got 3 years and $30 million, which was way higher than what most people had projected there. So all of the relievers right now, the price there just seems to be really high, and the D-backs are in an advantageous position in that, at least from their standpoint, they don't really think that they need to add at least not a high leverage reliever. I think there's some potential to add some depth there, but I don't expect them to go out and, you know, try to get a setup man or try to get a closer or anything, because, you know, they already have those guys in place.
I believe it was D-back Stats and Info tweeted this out, Jesse, to give them credit. But meanwhile, the Orioles pay Craig Kimbrell $13 million. The Diamondbacks will pay Paul Sewald, Andrew Saalfrank, Kyle Nelson, Luis Frias, Joe Mantiply, Kevin Ginkel, and Ryan Thompson somewhere in the neighborhood of $14.26 million next year. So, yeah, I think that's quite the savings. And again,
Paul Sewald will make maybe about $7 million in arbitration, something like that. But yeah, I mean, the Diamondbacks bullpen as a whole is still more expensive than Craig Kimbrell, but like not by that much, about 50% more expensive than one pitcher who didn't actually look all that great, as we said earlier. So yeah, the Diamondbacks are in a good position there where they're not spending all that much money on a bullpen that is one of the best they've had in a long time.
So let's talk about players the Diamondbacks have been linked to, and maybe one that we hope that they are linked to. First, Eduardo Rodriguez, according to John Heyman, Paul Heyman, completely different guy, is down to 2 teams per John Heyman. The decision is expected tomorrow, which is interesting. It's interesting he's down to 2 teams, and it's 2 mystery teams. No information at all provided about who those 2 teams could be. But yeah, I mean, his free agency has been fairly quiet. We know the Diamondbacks had interest. We know we had a lot of interest, but we heard from his agent that there were some geographic concerns or maybe geographic requests as to where he wanted to go, where he wanted to stay. So it seemed like the Diamondbacks might not factor in for that. They probably aren't one of these 2 teams, but fingers crossed that they are, Jesse.
Yeah, the geographic restrictions at the trade deadline, right? He rejected the deal to the Dodgers, and so it seemed like he might. But that, I think, was a different situation. We've talked about this before. It's different switching teams and having to pick up and move in the middle of a season versus having an entire off season to make that move. So yeah, the report from
maybe he hates traffic. Maybe it's LA specifically that he didn't want to move to. Maybe it's not the whole West Coast or the Southwest. Maybe he's just like, I hate traffic. I refuse to move to LA, which it could be.
Do you think, I don't know, what's the traffic situation in Detroit? I mean, it's probably not. It's probably not.
Dude, does anybody still live in Detroit? I don't know. Last time I checked,
fair enough.
Weren't quite as many people living there as there are in LA. But yeah, no, I mean, obviously, this isn't anything right now that's been rumored to be linked to the Diamondbacks, but it's very interesting considering we have no idea who these two teams are that Heyman's hinting at.
Yeah, I think it is conceivable that the Diamondbacks are one of them. That is speculation on my part for right now. But Eduardo Rodriguez makes a lot of sense for the Diamondbacks on paper, right? He's a left-handed pitcher. That's something that the Diamondbacks, it would make sense for them to get a lefty, given the lack of lefties in the rotation right now, as we talked about yesterday. The price point is on the higher end, which is why we've maybe been talking a little bit more about the Seth Lugos and Michael Wakas of the world recently. But that $20 million figure that we keep going back to again, I still don't think that that's necessarily gospel. I wouldn't be shocked if the Diamondbacks went above that when all was said and done. And Rodriguez would probably push you above that, but not necessarily so far above that. I think you're looking at maybe a 4-year deal, maybe a little bit under 20 million per year might be possible there. Rodriguez is 30 years old right now. It makes sense for the D-backs in a lot of different ways. It would probably require them to stretch the budget a little bit, but Hazen has been saying that the Diamondbacks have the ability to be fairly aggressive in the marketplace. And I'm not gonna say that it's impossible just because of the 20 million figure and how the numbers say, maybe you'd have to go a little bit over that. It makes sense for the D-backs in a lot of different ways. The other thing that I'll say, we're going to get into some of Mike Hazen's comments today a little bit later in the show. But when I asked Mike Hazen today if anything was past the 50-yard line, his answer was a little bit different. And I don't want to go too far down this road because this is like real tinfoil hat club, like really trying to, read into his comments. But
speculate. Let's throw some wild speculation out there, Jesse. Let's go.
I figured you would love this. He said no when I asked past the 50-yard line, anything past the 50-yard line. He said no, nothing I can report on right now. Which, if you really want to speculate, there is a world in which no clarifying the no in that way could mean that there's something there, but he just can't actually talk about it at this point. So I don't want to go too crazy with that, but again,
Shohei to the Diamondbacks confirmed. Shohei to the Diamondbacks confirmed. I'm going to go nuts with it. Let's go. You can be rational. I will be insane. But yeah, let's talk about guys, though, that the Diamondbacks have been linked to. And some of those guys might not make anybody as happy as me pretending like that Ohtani is the person he's referring to. But the pitchers that seem to keep coming up for the Arizona Diamondbacks, one name that we actually like and think could be a nice fit, Seth Lugo, Jesse, and his name seems to have come up in regards to the Diamondbacks a few times. Another pitcher maybe that people feel differently about is Lucas Giolito, which I think is more of a recency bias, right? It's more of the fact that he was just kind of bad at the second half of the season after he was traded and really not worth the assets that he was traded for, but still could end up being a very good pitcher for the Diamondbacks should that be the direction they go, but also maybe expensive, maybe not the kind of money we want to spend.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say it's the hesitance with Giolito is just recency bias. I mean, when a guy has an ERA like north of 7 for 12 starts, that's a pretty like sizable sample. You're not just talking about 1 or 2 bad outings at that point. I still think that Giolito is a better pitcher than that. I don't think he's going to have a 7 ERA for the rest of his career, but yeah, there's some genuine reason to be concerned there. You look at his 2022 numbers, Giolito wasn't all that much better than his end of season numbers in 2023 with an ERA right around 5. So I understand the hesitance there. I think that he's probably a little bit better than maybe even what those end of year numbers would suggest. There are maybe some adjustments that could be made to help him kind of get closer to the pitcher that he used to be. But yeah, I mean, if it's Lugo versus Lucas Giolito, you're probably going to pay some money just for the name that is Lucas Giolito and his former status as a top prospect. The fact that he has been a really good pitcher in this league at times. In 2021, he was a really good pitcher in this league. But if you're the D-backs and you're really trying to be efficient with the way you're spending your money, I would agree that on paper that doesn't look like the most efficient way unless you're getting him in, a lot less than what some people seem to be thinking he'll get.
The DH that they have been linked to, or the DH potential designated hitters they've been linked to, are the same names we've kind of covered. It's still JD Martinez, which obviously that's the one we all want. Justin Turner and CJ Cron is a name you brought up the other day. A name that's kind of emerged though for a position they've been needing to fill is another catcher on the in their lineup, and Tucker Barnhart's name has kind of come up as somebody that the Diamondbacks and the Astros are both interested, per Ari Alexander of KPRC2. I think that's correct. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Barnhart and the Diamondbacks filling, that positional need as far as, I guess, backup catcher and some guy that's going to share time with Gabby?
Mike Hazen said yesterday that he expects Gabby to catch 110 to 120 games. Something in that range was like his, or I think that was, I don't know, the days that the winter meetings are all mixed up. I think Mike Hazen said that 2 days ago. But yeah, and he did also say that if Gabby was healthy the whole year, maybe he would in reality catch a little bit more than that. But one way or another, the Diamondbacks are not going to get 155 games from Gabby Moreno. You have to have another catcher that you're willing to put out there for a not insignificant portion of the season. And we saw in 2023 what it looks like when there's a pretty big gap between your two catchers, where Jose Herrera wasn't contributing a whole lot on either side of the ball, whereas Gabby Moreno was pretty darn good on both sides of the ball. And, I don't know if the D-backs being 20 games over 500 or whatever when Gabby was behind the plate, I don't know if that level of performance with him is necessarily sustainable, but you'd like to close the gap a little bit between Gabby and the backup if you can. Victor Caratini got 2 years and $12 million recently from the Astros, and that move just came out recently. That's kind of a lot of money. So the D-backs are in a little bit of a tough spot there. I don't know if they're going to wind up having the resources to get the backup catcher that they might really want, but you can see why they would want to pursue external options there for sure.
The big news, Jesse, the big calming news is that Shohei Ohtani is going to make his decision by this weekend. And of course, as we know, that decision is going to be when he reveals he's coming to the Arizona Diamondbacks. But with that being said, Ohtani, the Ohtani sweepstakes being over really does feel like potentially the real start of the winter meetings, if you will, the real start, at least, of the transactional period. I know we've had a lot of this stuff kind of bubbling up today. It seems like the stove is heating up, but once again, it does feel like once Ohtani, obviously signs, what you're going to have is potentially half a dozen teams that had Ohtani money that aren't going to get Ohtani and are still going to want to spend, maybe not all of that, but we'll still have that kind of budgeted money to spend, and then they miss out on their guy, right? So it's like Blake Snell and a lot of these big name pitchers, I think, that are going to drive, get those big contracts. It only makes all the sense in the world for all of these guys to hold off until Ohtani finally signs, because people are just going to be throwing around crazy amounts of money, I feel like, after that point.
I think I know how you're going to answer this, but I want to ask you anyway. So the Dodgers, the speculation is that if the Dodgers don't get Ohtani, then JD Martinez re-signs with the Dodgers, right? I mean, he was really good for them as their DH last year. So if the Ohtani thing doesn't work out, you bring JD back and you're probably set if you're the Dodgers. Of course, that would mean JD Martinez doesn't come to the D-backs. So if you had the choice, Derek, between Ohtani going to the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks getting JD Martinez, or Ohtani not going to the Dodgers and therefore the Dodgers instead of the D-backs get JD Martinez? Which are you, okay? Is that a ridiculous question? Is that obvious? I assume.
Do I not want to deal with 10 years of Shohei Ohtani being on our biggest rival? It doesn't matter what the other option is, Jesse. I'm taking that. You're like, oh, Derek, would you rather never watch baseball again and just have Shohei not be on the Dodgers? Yeah, I'm making that sacrifice. Whatever choice leads to Ohtani not being a Dodger is the decision I'm going to make 100% of the time, because that is going to be an absolute nightmare for us. And as much as I love Ohtani, and hey, at least we'll get to see him more because it's a division team that we're playing instead of an AL team. I don't want that for us. I don't want that in our division at all. Again, Toronto, please get the job done. We need Toronto to get the job done. That's all. That's all.
I suspected that would be an easy answer for you. I just wanted to make sure. But D-backs fans have a very emotional attachment, I think, to JD Martinez, just given how outrageously good he was for this team in 2017. But
he was like a living legend. He was like a tall tale, come to life. Like, this man came here and hit 4 home runs at Dodger Stadium in one night as a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks. I have a T-shirt about it. So I mean, there's something to be said about the short amount of time he was here and what he did for this team in that span. But of course, I'll give you a great option if you want to go see baseball games. Again, I'm willing to sacrifice that for Ohtani to stay out of LA, but you don't have to sacrifice anything. In fact, you can go see all the baseball games next year, and you can get those tickets last minute with our friends from Game Time. Whether it's a concert, whether it's a show, whether it's a sporting event, doesn't matter. Game Time has you covered. They are the place for last minute ticket deals, and they're the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And also been talking about some fun options for people. If you want to get creative this holiday season, you want to give a gift that's better than that ugly holiday sweater, or even maybe jewelry, or maybe some of those material things that aren't gonna be a day-to-day kind of change in someone's life. Maybe get yourself some new flooring for your family, for your loved one in your house, and you can do that through our friends at Empire Today. They keep shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. They also have their virtual floor designer, which is a great way to see how the floors will look in any space. It's easy. All you have to do is take a picture of your house or wherever you're going to put these new floorings, and you can see how they will look in your room. You can check all their options. And of course, Empire Today prides itself on their convenient shop at home service. It makes big changes like this at the home can make one of the most memorable gifts you've ever had. And of course, sometimes you got to take care of that stuff anyway. So is there a better time to do it than when you're giving it as a gift to someone else? I don't know. Maybe not. So check out Empire Today. They do service their own warranties. And of course, if any problems arise, you can just call Empire. They will take care of everything themselves. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners will receive a $350 off discount when you use promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX for details. Big shout out to all of you guys for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel right now. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do so now. Leave us a thumbs up. Leave us a like. We always appreciate you doing that. Also, make sure you sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our wonderful shows go live. If you are a listener on the listening side, make sure you subscribe over there. Leave us a review. We always appreciate those 5-star reviews from you guys. And of course, appreciate you guys for being here live in the chat today. We had the Rule 5 draft in Major League Baseball. That was actually a very scary experience because the Arizona Diamondbacks and Mike Hazen knew there was a good chance that they could lose a very talented player from their organization. And that exact thing did in fact happen because the D-backs lost Davison De Los Santos to the Cleveland Guardians. And, of course, we talked about it yesterday as being a strong possibility. We knew being a top 5 prospect in any organization. He was going to be tantalizing to any team to take a look at. But as Damon said, it's going to be interesting to see what the Guardians do with De Los Santos, because taking him in the Rule 5 draft requires that they have him on their roster, right, Jesse?
It does, yeah. In order for Davis and De Los Santos to actually stay with the Guardians in their organization, they have to keep him on the active roster for the entire season. Otherwise, Davis and De Los Santos goes back to the Diamondbacks. So, yeah, this is we talked about him yesterday as being a candidate to be selected in the draft. I was a little bit skeptical because of just some of the plate discipline issues that we've seen down in Double-A, even though the numbers for him were a lot better in the second half of the season after making some adjustments. He's still, I mean, I think in the second half, even during that good stretch, I think his strikeout rate was about 26%. His walk rate was less than 3%. Those are pretty rough numbers for a guy down in Double-A. And it's not to say that the D-backs didn't believe in Davis and De Los Santos or think that he could eventually become a valuable member of this team. But in the Rule 5 draft, that's not the only question that you're considering. You have to decide, if you're the D-backs, or you had to decide if you're the D-backs, whether De Los Santos was worth a 40-man roster spot. And when you're a contending team, 40-man roster spots are pretty valuable. We saw the D-backs toward the end of the season. You know, you're adding Slade Ciccone, you're adding Bryce Jarvis, you're adding Jordan Lawler. You are making additions to the 40-man. And what Mike Hazen basically said about this is, it's tough if you're a contending team to give one of those spots to a guy in Double-A who might not even be able to give you, who might not be a depth option for the D-backs, right? Like if they have an injury or whatnot at third base, or at first base, De Los Santos' 2 primary positions. Are you actually ready to call up De Los Santos to play in the majors on a team trying to contend? That's a bit of a stretch. And the D-backs being in the position that they're in, trying to go for it next year, I understand their thinking on this, even though the outcome is certainly unfortunate, losing a prospect who is as well regarded as De Los Santos.
And of course, there's a good possibility that, based on the rule you discussed, that he actually does end up back here in the Valley, does not stay with the Cleveland Guardians, because that is going to be a bit difficult to have a guy that struggled with Double-A pitching a bit make that leap suddenly to a major league roster. And he doesn't have to be on the major league roster. He just has to be on their 40-man roster, right? So they could.
He has to be on their active major league roster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why it's such a big
that's
commitment.
difficult,
like,
right? Yeah, because you could stash him in AAA potentially if he's still on the 40-man roster, but if he needs to remain on the active roster, then that's pretty hard, considering this guy might not be ready for that yet.
Yeah, I mean, the D-backs what Mike said is that the D-backs had projected him to start 2024 in Double-A. They weren't even ready to promote him to AAA based on their in-house evaluation. The D-backs certainly weren't in position to put De Los Santos, on the opening day roster or anything in the 2024 season. And that's what the Guardians have to do here. Otherwise, not only do they have to put him on the opening day roster, they have to roster him for the entire season. And like you said, the chance of him doing that, the chance of him successfully pulling that off, I don't think is all that high, but it is a possibility. There is a chance that De Los Santos goes over there and, makes some adjustments and, turns into a pretty good player and is able to blossom in that organization, in which case this would be a really bad look for the Diamondbacks, but we'll just have to see how that plays out.
It's interesting, the Rule 5 draft as a whole, because I feel like, at least in this case, right, that this could impact the development of Davis and De Los Santos, right? This could literally impede his development based on how the Guardians decide to use him and kind of how the next steps in his career go. It doesn't feel like it's the best thing for a young player to be thrust into this situation. However, on the flip side, it's their dream, right? Like, if he can actually be on the major league roster and contribute in some way where the Guardians do keep him on the active roster all season long, then I mean, maybe it's a big opportunity for him. Obviously, he's not going to, play a lot, especially considering who they got over there at third base, but that could be maybe why they're forecasting maybe just using him in a very minor role.
Yeah. And I do want to answer Groundhog Mama's question, Karen's question. She said, what if he gets injured? How does that work? That's a really good question. I mean, like, okay, well, what if he comes in and he just gets hurt on opening day and is out for the season? Does that mean that, okay, the Guardians just get to keep him for the long haul and they're not subject to this system of having to keep him on the active roster? Generally speaking, if a player does get hurt, that's okay. You can put them on the injured list and it doesn't change things. However, they must meet a 90-day minimum on the active roster. So if De Los Santos was out for the entire season or something, that wouldn't work. The Guardians wouldn't get to keep him in that instance. He has to be on their active major league roster at least 90 days. If he was hurt for part of the year, that'd be okay, but he has to hit that 90-day threshold. Otherwise, he would come back to the Diamondbacks.
The Diamondbacks did not select anybody in the major league phase of the Rule 5 draft. They did have some transactions in the minor league phase with a couple of teams. I think Tim brought it up there. He said, looks like we got a few guys too, though. Picked up a guy from the Dodgers, the Cubs, and what is Texas, I'm guessing? Yeah, okay. But again, those are minor league rules. So that minor league phase of the draft isn't subject to the same rule that Jesse is discussing. So that's different. But the Diamondbacks did lose a friend of the show, Seth Beer, to the Pittsburgh Pirates in the minor league phase of the draft. So that, at least for now, ends his time with the Arizona Diamondbacks. But we had a feeling we wouldn't see the D-backs make any selections in the major league phase because they need to keep that roster spot obviously open for Ohtani.
Right, of course. Yep, that's the only explanation that's needed right there.
What other explanation would there be, Jesse? Of course. But Bill says the Soto trade to New York is done. So breaking news: the trade is the Juan Soto trade looks like it's happening. Or he might not be correct. I don't know. But what we heard prior to going into this episode was that it sounded like it was a lock and the details were just being worked out. So no surprise there that Juan Soto is headed to the New York Yankees. And hey, again, it's a good thing, right? That's less Juan Soto in our lives, Jesse. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean, the Padres are getting a decent haul here.
No.
I'd have to go and look into each of these guys a little bit more. Michael King, Drew Thorpe, Johnny Brito, Randy Vasquez, and Kyle Higashioka is what John Morosi just tweeted out a couple of minutes ago. So, that's, I guess, good news if you're the Diamondbacks. I mean, this has kind of been suspected for a while that this Juan Soto trade, the trading Juan Soto, was going to be inevitable, and him moving out of the NOS certainly doesn't hurt from the Diamondbacks perspective.
What do you think this means, though, overall for the Padres, right? They're most likely losing Blake Snell. They get this kind of haul back. I'm not saying a rebuild is happening or anything, but it definitely doesn't feel like the Padres right now we haven't really seen them connected in any big rumors to teams where they're getting the player, feels like everybody that's rumored in regards to the Padres is the big stars losing the Padres and going elsewhere. So, we do need to check on Sean because I'm sure Sean is punching a wall right now. I'm sure of it, Jesse.
There's this narrative out there that Juan Soto is like a bad player. I think I might have addressed this on the show before. I just want to make it clear that I think that's kind of ludicrous. I understand, he's not the type of, he's not a Diamondback in that, there's D-backs have a lot of players who on the surface, maybe their numbers don't look good, but they do a lot of the little things. Whereas Juan Soto on the surface, his numbers look absolutely spectacular. And yet he doesn't really do a lot of the little things. He's not all that great a base runner. He's not a very good corner outfield defender, even despite being very young still. So there are some flaws in his game, but he's such an incredibly good hitter and has been such an incredibly consistent hitter in his major league career that Juan Soto is a good player. And the Yankees are, like I said earlier, I don't know if this shoots them to the top of the AL East exactly, but it's obviously a really, really big get for them.
I think from my perspective, I've just said that he's a little bit overrated, and I think a lot of people agree that he's overrated rather than bad. He's obviously a very, very good player. I just don't think that he's maybe in that upper echelon of player that a lot of people put him in.
Maybe he's not worth the money that he's, making or going to make in his next contract.
Well, in the shortened season, like if you look at his stats there, and I think that's kind of when he was crowned, he was like unbelievable, but he obviously was 50 games. Yeah. And his OPS and his on-base percentage, his slugging percentage, all great, but he's not, again, the little things.
Yeah.
He's not like, he's not on the level of like the top guys, in my opinion.
I don't care how you rate him. I'm thrilled to have him out of the NL West. Sure. I think we can all agree on that. And we can also agree on being a diehard, right? I think everybody in this room agrees that everybody listening, everybody watching, everybody here in the chat should already be a diehard.
Not overrated.
Definitely not overrated being a diehard. But if you are not a diehard, or if maybe, I don't know, you're looking for that perfect gift, diehard memberships are on sale right now, y'all. Now, $59.99. Get yourself all the same benefits of the diehard membership. So if you are not a diehard, now is the best time to join. Better than ever. You'll get that free t-shirt. You'll get Jesse's newsletter. You get access to a members-only Discord lounge. You get tons of benefits from our partners, including special heat from Illegal Pete's and so much more. So make sure to join us today. Biggest sale of the diehard membership we're going to have. So if you have always considered signing up but have not done so, today is an absolutely great time to do so. Great gift, by the way, for your friends that love Arizona sports. Another great gift, talking about it a lot, Arizona Lottery scratcher tickets. The holiday scratchers are some of the best gifts you can buy if you're a procrastinator like Jesse. You need to buy a gift on the way to the event that you are going to your Christmas party with your family, to Hanukkah, to anything you're going to. Make sure to stop and get yourself some holiday scratchers because they make the perfect gift. They make great stocking stuffers. And of course, like I said in the past, what's better than giving someone potentially up to $500,000? Scratchers start at just $1, and there's a scratcher for everyone on your list. Go out and buy your holiday scratchers today.
Are we doing one today? Do we have one today?
I don't have one. Well, I mean, I bought lots of them, Jesse. I have stacks, piles this high of scratcher tickets. I keep wanting to give them out to people, but again, every time I do, I think, oh man, do I really want to give this person $500,000? The criteria is very high in my mind for you to get a scratcher as a gift for me. So that's why I just keep them and scratch them myself. But I will tell you that we have more. We have some fun stuff planned for the end of this week. We'll scratch some scratchers. You just want your cut, and I get it. I appreciate it. But
I do.
I did say that, of course, the diehard membership, best deal that you can get on that. And right now might be the best time to sign up for BetMGM as well. Right now, if you sign up for BetMGM and place your first wager, you can receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your bet loses. All you have to do is download the app on iOS or Android or visit betmgm.com. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your BetMGM Sportsbook account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. And of course, that's a great time to absolutely go ham on a big bet. Maybe a sure thing, maybe something you can double your money with. And if not, you'll get those $1,500 back in bonus bets. Sign up for the BetMGM app now. Use bonus code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the Sportsbook mobile application of at least $10. If that bet loses, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
Ontario. We tried. And I'm sitting over here complaining to Damon about that being the wrong BetMGM offer as well. So make sure once again you check that out. It's up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your bet loses. So that is the offer available now. Jesse, what I want to hear about is progress on Mike Hazen's end? You said earlier that he was very coy with you in regards to if anything has moved past the 50-yard line. But you think maybe some deals are happening? Maybe something's imminent? What are your thoughts here?
I mean, I probably not. I don't know if I can read into that so much that I'm like expecting a deal within the next 24 hours or something, but who knows? And I mean, even if he wasn't at all trying to suggest, that they might be close on something, that doesn't mean that, some new development could arise and some new trade become a possibility, or, some team give them a call back that they weren't expecting. So yeah, I think that there's still a very real chance that the Diamondbacks do something in the relatively near future. I don't view their lack of movement this week as meaning that, they're not doing anything or it's going to take forever. They could very easily, I think, make a move within the next week or two. That wouldn't surprise me, especially as some of those bigger names come off the free agency board, as we were talking about earlier. So yeah, we'll see how things turn out here.
If nothing happens, though, no disappointment not making any moves during this week at the winter meetings.
Yeah. Mike Hazen was asked, do you have any level of disappointment of not getting anything done at this point? And of course, yeah, his answer was no, zero. And I think a big part of that is that what the Diamondbacks are looking to acquire, those players are still out there, whether it be in free agency or in trade. It's not like, Lugo signed and Waka signed and, Eduardo Rodriguez signed or whomever they might be after. Those guys are still out there. We haven't really seen anyone come off the board who it clearly made sense that they should target that particular guy. There maybe been little examples here and there, like, all right, Kenta Maeda, maybe they could have been on him. He signed for Tigers. Yeah, Sonny Gray, they pursued him. There have been some names, but there's still very clearly an outlet for them to get what they want to get. And that's why Hazen said that, he's not at all disappointed or anything with not having anything done yet.
I think we finally got piece of Yoshi, Jesse, because he reported fake news and he said it came from you. And there is a demand in the chat to block him. And I think we finally got the evidence we need to prosecute piece of Yoshi. So we'll hold on to that for sure. But you know who I want to blame for the lack of moves, Jesse? There's this fake update right there. I want to blame the Arizona Diamondbacks. I blame the Arizona Diamondbacks for the lack of moves in free agency right now. You know why? Because this team, this 84-win team that had no business doing what they did in the postseason last year, has everybody thinking they can do it now. Everybody's like, you just got to win 85 games. You just got to get in. Look what the Diamondbacks did. Look at So now, instead of being out on guys, instead of maybe taking a few more years to rebuild, there's a lot more competition out there. These guys all think they're 2 pitchers away from being a World Series contender. Maybe? I don't know.
That's a pretty good point. Yeah.
I got to blame us. I got to take the blame and put it on us.
That's what Mike said. We tried to ask him again today. Fault. Yeah, a quote from Mike Hazen: "It is the Diamondbacks' fault that there has not been movement in free agency or in trades." No, that did not happen. But he did say that from his perspective and from what he's heard, that it appears the reason that there hasn't been much movement is because there's just a lot of competition for a lot of guys, a lot of teams in on a lot of guys, and that just kind of muddies things up and drives prices higher. We've certainly seen a little bit of that. And yeah, I think it's good for baseball in a lot of ways to have so many teams trying to contend. This very much came with adding a third wild card spot. I think now that you're up to 12 playoff teams, the playoffs really are very accessible compared to, past eras of this game. And teams want to go for it. Teams don't want to be in a position where their fans have no hope. There's really nothing to get excited for when spring training rolls around. And I think that's a very real thing.
It is. Honestly, when you look at the last 2 World Series, the National League representative was the third wild card team both years, right? The Phillies. And so, there's something to be said about the idea that now that so many teams do make it into the playoffs, once you get there, especially in this game with a 162 game season, this game that at any point, any team can suddenly, like, how many times during the season did someone just become the best team in the league for the stretch of like 2 weeks? The Reds, the Marlins, like there were so many times, the Diamondbacks, where so many of the teams in this not ended up at the end of the season with the best record had these stretches where they looked unbelievably good. And all you need, like the Diamondbacks proved last postseason, is for that stretch to occur at the right time. And, you know, again, that's tantalizing to anybody that manages, you know, a pro baseball franchise, that we might be able to do that same thing. We might not be that far off, you know. Like I said, those damn Reds, they weren't that far off from being in the playoffs themselves. And now here they sit with the second overall draft pick, which is just crazy to me. But
the D-backs and Reds are like fighting it out for that third wild card spot down the stretch. Finish, what was it, a game apart from each other, and the Reds get the number 2 pick.
The Reds get the number 2 pick.
29. that is pretty funny.
It's wild. Well, I know we've talked a lot about who the Diamondbacks are connected to, but we've also done the math on it, and there's a good chance that the Diamondbacks might not be able to fill all of these positional needs this offseason. They might not even necessarily need to. I know I made that stupid comment about not really needing a starting pitcher, but there are certain things that the Diamondbacks are searching for that they could potentially do without.
Yeah, I think we got a little bit of clarification today on their search for a right-handed bat. I asked, we've heard it could be a DH, it could be an outfielder. It doesn't necessarily have to be both of those things. It doesn't necessarily have to be an outfielder, which is something that maybe some people suspected going into this. Mike didn't really have any idea whether it was more likely to be an outfielder or a DH at this point. But like his comment about his search for a starting pitcher, he did say that free agency, as of right now, appears to be the more likely route for the Diamondbacks to add that right-handed bat, whatever it may be. So, you know, he definitely didn't want to rule out the trade market. He said there's still potential there. But as of right now, the D-back, both in the starting pitching search and in the right-handed bat search, free agency, from his standpoint, seems to be the most likely route.
Oh, well, I need something to happen, Jesse. That's what I need. I need something to happen. So I don't care what you have to do. I know your time is limited there, but like, again, we'll budget a case of Mike and Ike's, whatever we have to do to try to get some news happening, because we can't wait to hear about the Diamondbacks. And like, I want to hear one move that can give me some sort of gauge on how big the Diamondbacks are going to go or what's going to happen. Right. You know, so like that's right now where what I'm kind of breathlessly hoping for is just to see some inclination. Like, I feel like signing someone like Justin Turner is a really good step in the right direction. Like if we see the Diamondbacks making moves like that, then that gives me some reassurance that its team is going to try to go out there. Not like I don't believe that they are, but like this team is actually going to put an effort. This organization is going to put an effort to follow up on this amazing season they had and try to get back to the pinnacle of baseball, get back to that peak and try to play for that championship again. I know it's not very likely that it could happen 2 years in a row, but who knows? This team is still mostly together, and the pieces that they're losing at times were weaknesses, at least when it comes to like third base and stuff like that. So the Diamondbacks do have the potential here to be a better baseball team in 2024 based on the upgrades that they do after losing the guys they're going to lose to free agency.
One thing I do want to add about the search for a designated hitter is that it appears that Mike Hazen would prefer that designated hitter to have some flexibility to play in the field. And I asked what positions in particular, like, would you be looking for there? First base was the first thing that he said, which makes sense. You don't necessarily have a clear backup first base option. Pavin Smith, if he's on the roster, I guess would be that guy, but I don't know that that's a guarantee. Manuel Rivera plays over there as well. I'm not sure he would necessarily be guaranteed a spot on the opening day roster, given that Eugenio Suarez is now a member of this baseball team. So that certainly makes sense. And then, outfield was the second one. So I guess that's where, maybe a Jorge Soler type would make sense. A guy that you probably want to DH, but if you needed him to play, right field, every now and then, that wouldn't be the end of the world. He can probably do it and not be totally awful out there. So some interesting things to keep in mind. We've gotten it about as specific as we can. Like, I've run out of questions to ask about what exactly they're looking for, trying to figure out, like, you know, the types of assets that they're looking for. At this point, it's just a matter of, all right, you know, what's it going to be? How are these things going to fit together? And there's probably some compromises that are going to have to be made here. I don't know. We can maybe have some conversations about, would you rather spend a little more on the starting pitcher and a little less on the designated hitter? Or would you rather flip that the other way? You know, these are the kinds of things that I think they're grappling with right now too.
And I mean, like you said, I don't think we could get a clearer picture of what they're looking for. I feel like they've put their intentions out there. I think that there's been some gamesmanship, like what we kind of talked about with the Drew Jones comments yesterday, and maybe, you know, his reply to you there about the 50-yard line. You know, maybe things are closer than they're kind of letting on about. But I really do feel like at the end of all of this, you know, Mike Hazen has a difficult task here. He is still building a young franchise as far as the age and the direction they're going, while also trying to make this team an immediate winner again this year. Like, it's just difficult at times to balance those two things without letting one slip. You know, like, you know, obviously, you know, he's not interested in the trades, because that's where you start slipping that future of the team away and start depleting your farm system and moving into a direction where you kind of almost have to win now in the next couple of years in order for the moves that you made to pay off, and in order for, you know, things like that to make sense that you did it. I think regardless, Mike's gonna like never be happy with the decisions ultimately that he makes, and I just hope he can work out enough to stave off that coronary.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's working out, and it's you know, it's his job, and you know, taking care of his kids. That's what consumes Mike Hazen at all hours of the day. So yeah, it's gonna be fun to see how this unfolds. I, as someone covering this team, and just fascinated by it, and how you're going to fit all these pieces together. And it's a really delicate position to be in when you do have pieces that you could trade to make this 2024 team pretty freaking good, I think. But like you said earlier, there's this long-term window that is also promising, with Gabby Moreno here for, you know, a pretty long time, and Corbin Carroll having signed that extension. You know, the long-term future in Arizona is fairly bright as well. But these next couple years, I mean, it feels like this is the time to push in the chips, at least on some level. And I'm fascinated by it to see how this turns out.
I can relate to what Mike Hazen's going through right now, Jesse, because I am part of the party planning committee here at PHNX, putting together our holiday party. And much like
you guys have equally difficult jobs.
We do. No, you're absolutely right. It's equally difficult, and it's basically the same thing. We have this list of things that we need to accomplish, and then we have this budget that's much more in this range. It's in the I'm bringing Christmas lights from my house to decorate range, but that's neither here nor there. Sometimes you make you decide where to spend the money, and we're spending it on food. And then I want the Diamondbacks to spend it on starting pitching. But like you said, that's a conversation for another day. I just want Mike to understand I'm with you and I can relate. We're going through the same thing, buddy. And hopefully we both can succeed at the end of the day. But something that could take the stress out for both of us, Jesse, OG's brands, right? Picture this. It's you're on your couch, favorite team on the screen, not reliving that disaster that happened with the Suns last night, because that upset me in ways. I needed 6 bags of OGs to get over last night's loss, but you can
Derek,
have a bag of OGs.
I only saw the replay of that moment. I wasn't there for the whole emotional roller coaster thing because I was obviously tied up here. The Lakers did not have possession of the ball last night.
Don't even start with me, Jesse Freeman. When I was 12 years old, I broke a big screen TV over a Suns game, and last night was almost a reenactment. We were that close to me being one of those viral idiots that smashed his fist through his television screen. But luckily I didn't do that because I had plenty of OGs on hand, Jesse. They have a variety of bold flavors and most importantly, a variety of doses. So someone like me that needs a higher dose on a night like that can also get what he needs. But OG's gummies are a slam dunk for your taste buds. Plus, you can customize your experience based on desired effect and strength. Don't miss out on their sleep edition gummies because I've often said not only did I get a good night's sleep with those, but they set me up for good night's sleep going forward. It's like I got back on track. So to learn more about OG's gummies and where you can find them, head on over to ogsbrands.com. Lastly, more Christmas gift ideas for you guys are set provided to us, as always, by our friends at FOCO. Beautiful little pieces of artwork. And I'll tell you, they still have some World Series limited edition bobbleheads that are selling out left and right. And you might not even see what the bobblehead is, but I can guarantee you, based on the quality of the ones we have right here, you will not be disappointed when those little mystery boxes come in. And again, limited edition, numbered works of art, and make absolutely great gifts this holiday season. Get the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms at FOCO. They're a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise. And of course, whenever FOCO, it's always baseball season over at FOCO.com. So make sure to get everything you need to get prepared and to celebrate the Diamondbacks World Series run. FOCO always has our back for Arizona sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by visiting FOCO.com and using code PHNX. For all non-presale items, use the promo code PHNX10 for 10% off. And yes, Jesse, I might send one to Torey Lovullo. I know he doesn't want to remember, or he doesn't want to go back and watch any of the World Series, but like maybe a little bobblehead of like Gabby like celebrating or something would be at least something for him to remember the occasion, the accomplishment. So but you have some partying to do in Nashville, I imagine. So
yes,
I know you want to get out of here, but we appreciate you and all of your hard work there. We'll be back here tomorrow for our last day with you in Nashville. So excited for that. And again, hopefully Mike Hazen has some news for you or some different answers to the same questions that you've asked over and over again.
Well, we're not going to get Mike Hazen tomorrow. Today is officially, I think there's like some winter meetings events tomorrow, some kind of more low-key things.
Did you have breakfast with Banny this morning?
I did.
How'd that go?
We had the managers breakfast today. Torey Lovullo was unable to make it, so bench coach Jeff Bannister stepped in. It was great. Banny's a lot of fun to talk to, and
he's a hoot.
Got to catch up with some people from D-backs PR as well as some of the other reporters as well. We all just constantly talk baseball and our jobs and whatnot. So it's fun to just be able to enjoy a meal together and hang out. I also do have to say real quick that I am currently sitting doing the show where Torey Lovullo sat when he did his interview with the media.
I knew that looked familiar.
The microphone. This is Torey Lovullo's microphone. I feel especially powerful sitting here, and not only Torey, but a number of managers. I don't know. Dave Roberts might have been sitting here
when he blabbed the Ohtani news.
Maybe I should connected to Torey.
Yeah, I think that makes you connected. I think that makes us all connected, team. And Jesse, what a connected team is.
What is a connected team?
It's a fucking dangerous team, Damon. It's a fucking dangerous team. There's also a shirt. It's on a shirt somewhere. You can get it, I think, at the PHNX locker. If you're a diehard, you can get that shirt for free. Diehard memberships are on sale. This is all connected. It's all connected, Jesse. It's a connected web. But again, we appreciate you, and break some news, okay? Do something while you're out there. I mean, it's not just all breakfast with Jeff Bannister and hanging out with Mike Hazen. We need you to break some news.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have one more thing that I need to point out, which is
go ahead.
Something that Brandon Stevens just commented in the chat. The Chase Field Twitter account just posted a very mysterious video that says tomorrow at 8 a.m. with a little eyeball emoji, and the Diamondbacks reposted it. I suspect we may have some stadium news potentially coming tomorrow. So maybe a full maybe a display, maybe those LED lights. Maybe we're going to show it all that work that they've been doing inside there. Hopefully that's the case, because that's fun. But yeah, we'll talk about that, and of course
whatever news Jesse breaks about Ohtani coming to the Diamondbacks tomorrow. We appreciate you guys, of course. I'm at Cap_Caveman with a K if you want to follow me. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman if you want to follow him. Damon is the one you should follow. He's the people's producer. He is at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. We, of course, are Damon's dogs. Arf, arf.
Bark, bark, bark.
I don't know. I just don't know why it's so weird with you every single time. It just flowed with
Jesse
Pat.
Just has no passion.
Yeah, there's no passion for it. Patty Plantain was all about
everything into it.
His heart and his soul was in the Damon's dogs.
Absolutely.
I mean, but that's also because we talked about life and personal issues, and Jesse just keeps all of that.
For the record, I didn't used to bark at all. I've actually come around on that and decided that
it's crazy though.
I've decided that my journalistic integrity is only partially compromised by barking and saying that I'm one of Damon's dogs. So, we're baby steps. We're making progress.
Are you or are you not one of Damon's dogs is the question.
There's a lot of nuance there, Derek.
God damn it. All right. Well, you go to Nashville and you get a big head. I don't like this. I don't like him hanging out with that Bob Nightingale. But anyway, all right. Well, we'll get you back here and we'll talk about this. But of course, you can follow our show again at PHNX_DBacks, but all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for your time. We appreciate you stopping by. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun now that Juan Soto doesn't play for the Padres.
We all silly like the mayor.